I think the secret to growing sales with an outfitter directly, I think it all just comes down to accountability and staying on top of stuff, really. I think if you're consistent, you're going to see results no matter what kind of salesman you are. I think it's just all about time and putting the effort in to learn what it takes to be good at sales. I mean, I can tell you, I was never once thought, man, I got to do sales to build an outfitting clientele from scratch, or ever thought I would do anything in sales. Never did anything in college for it, nothing. So I think it's just consistency and the willingness to learn.
That makes sense. So about how many people do you call during the off season, like just on a given week?
On a given week, I'd say on a good day, I can get say I'm having good calls, I'd say 200-300 people a day. On a day where I'm not getting a lot of answers, maybe pushing 500, maybe 1,000. It's a really bad day. I mean, that's going from 8 to 5 pretty much with an hour or so break. Kind of depends on the motivation each day. There's some days where it's tougher.
Holy shit.
That's crazy. That is
and that's
crazy.
You, that is you yourself, or that's through the whole team?
That's me, myself. We have another guy who helps us too, though, that works for us. I'd say he probably on a good day, he can probably do about the same as me if he's staying focused and everything. It just depends how good of phone calls you have with people.
And that's cool.
I got a question. How many of these new customers are closing on the first call?
Not many. Well, I'd say maybe 2%, 3% at a really high rate. It's pretty rare that somebody's hey, yeah, I want to book, this is the date type deal. Unless they reach out to me, it's not usually ever that. It's usually a follow-up process. You probably talk to them at least a couple times. I think at the very best you can get is say I call somebody and they're text me the info and the dates. You might have somebody that's we'll take that date for this many people. That's about as good as it can really get. I mean, it's super rare somebody's just that's the date I'll take on the first phone call. Yeah.
So what was sales like for you guys without a legitimate follow-up process?
God, it was rough. It was different. Slow, that would be a word to use it. I would say let me think. Before we used to do messages through Facebook or whatever.
The very beginning.
Yeah, that's a very, very beginning. It's Facebook or social media, and you'd message everybody right away, and you'd respond to people, and you'd try to get people on the phone, because that was always the best way to book them. But I think it was our pretty much process would be well, I haven't heard from all these people in 3 weeks, and they never really responded, so I'm just going to send a follow-up message and see if I can get anywhere. It was not very productive.
So where's it at now? Going from that to
now it's a whole organized system where I call somebody, I basically deem how interested they are in the hunt just based off prior experience. If I think it's somebody that's going to be, good and really interested, I try to set a time to follow up with them, or hey, you might be too busy to talk for 20 minutes right now. Let's talk again in a few days when you're off work or something. So now I have it down to where I have a follow-up and a standard pretty much I followed of how many times I need to try to touch base with this person before I deem them probably not interested anymore in a hunt. I mean, I can be wrong sometimes, but I'd say 90% of the time I'm pretty accurate on whether somebody actually has interest in booking or not. I think that's the biggest thing. You can't just be I sent that guy the website, he's going to book. I need to talk to him in 2 weeks. I mean, it can happen, but.
Sure.
What's the dead giveaway for a tire kicker?
I wouldn't say price is a dead giveaway because everybody does have their own price point. So that's not really it. I'd say when people start being oh, well, I got to say you just give them the basic info and they're oh, I got to talk to the guys, or, oh, geez, that's kind of far away, but maybe we might make it work, well, maybe this next year we'd be interested. A lot of the maybes, they start saying maybe a lot, or they don't want to act on it. They don't say, oh man, I'm going to set up a phone call and talk with all the guys tonight or something like that. It's pretty clear and obvious when somebody's just kind of kicking it around.
That makes sense. And so Hunter's alluded to the fact that y'all have like a pipeline of people, like potential prospects, like that have said, like, "Hey, let me get with my group, let me get dates." How big is that list? Or like, are you going back to that all the time, or is it just always just new leads every day?
Yeah, I look at it pretty much every day, of course. So like we have two different sets of people. So it's like prospectives are people like I have a set up phone call with to talk to again, or they want to talk to me again. So those people are prospectives. Then like the pipeline is more of like what I'm expecting, like who I'm expecting to get their dates picked like within a certain amount of time. So like usually once somebody like I say they're a prospective now after the first call, say they're like, okay, we're deciding between these two dates, but we're going to take one of these dates. That's a guy that I was just like, all right, instantly put to the pipeline. Like I know he's going to take a date unless something crazy happens. Like most of the time they're pretty upfront. They tell you.
Well, I don't know if y'all are wanting to stay specifically on the sales. I know there's like way more to pull out, but I also want to introduce Grant, him coming on the podcast for the first time. He's obviously been at Whiskey Sloughs. He's one of the founders with Hunter. But Grant, can you kind of explain like who you are, how y'all became friends, started Whiskey Sloughs, what your role is?
Yeah, for sure. My role has definitely changed a lot in the past since we started. I've always kind of handled bookings and client stuff. It's changed. I mean, at one point I was also a cook. I was long with guiding, so that's changed a lot. Now I'm not having to cook as much, which is nice for me. I'm not saying I don't like cooking, but it's a lot easier being at the lodge and not having to worry about feeding 10 people while I'm trying to have conversations with them. Kind of felt like I was running with my head cut off sometimes. But yeah, for the most part now I just handle sales, still everything clients, whether it be liability waivers, helping people get checked into the lodge. I still help our cook now that he's getting used to things a little bit. But that's kind of the main role. As far as how everything started, pretty much all met like Hunter and Justin and I. It started out as like a goose hunt I had permission on, and we just needed more people and more decoys. And so I had a mutual friend that knew Hunter, and then like Hunter and Justin were there, of course, along with they brought more people, more shooters. And so like pretty much after that day, it was like, hey, me, Hunter, and Justin, like, hey, where are we hunting tomorrow? What are we doing tomorrow? Type of deal. And it kind of just never really stopped until it grew into this.
No, that's interesting. And I was just scrolling through something interesting on our end. What happened 15 minutes before y'all got on this call?
Let's see. We were having a meeting about pheasant clients coming in, time management, employees, a little bit of everything.
He's talking about the $22,000 booking.
Yeah, the absolute hammer.
Yeah.
It's casual for him.
Yeah, I don't think much of it. I was just a guy that was getting paid up for the next year already for his group for duck pheasant. He just wanted to lock everything in full and then also pay his gratuities on top and tip more potentially when he gets here. So I've never had anybody do that before. That was the first where I've had somebody tip gratuities ahead of time. That's awesome. But I think it definitely shows something about the growth and respect we've started to garner from new clients and clients in general, because it's something I have noticed more of lately.
So is he a repeat client?
No, he's a brand new client.
Wow.
Yeah. No, brand new client. I've never met him before. So I'll meet him next November. But yeah.
You said what? Next November?
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's coming out for next season, not this season.
Was that was off an ad, or was that just
that was off an ad? Yeah. I mean, I think he'd maybe heard of us before, but sure. Yeah, I just called him off an ad type deal. He was one of those guys where we picked a date basically. He was like, this year doesn't work after we went through this year's dates. And was like, hey, we want to get something lined up for the next year. Give me some of your better dates type deal. And he's like, put me down for that one. I talked with Bennett, had him send an invoice to him for him to pay. And he said, get back with that was maybe beginning of August. And he said, hey, get back with me first, second week of September. And we'll talk and we'll get this thing taken care of for you. And pretty much about a week after I called him, he was like, yep, I'll get the invoice taken care of this week. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Dude, that's crazy that a lot of outfitters won't even take bookings that far in advance because they just like they don't have the ability to one track that and two be able to like invoice and just thinking that far ahead because they don't have all their crap together. To be honest, do y'all frequently book people like during this season? Will y'all book people for next season?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we want repeat clients to have their pick
Right.
of dates, of course, but you know, if I have a group of 6 that wants to put a deposit down right now, I mean, yeah, why not? Like, I'm not going to book the whole season ahead of time, but I'll book, you know, 3, 4, 5 groups for next year ahead of time. You know, groups are always going to go different places, everything like that. I think last year we had one group book ahead, like in the middle of duck season, that like wasn't a repeat group that paid for the next year ahead of time. I think right now I've had that group that you're just talking about. That's all good to go for next year. And then I have another group of 10 penciled in on a date so far. I'm sure we'll probably see like every single year at some point we'll probably have to get to the point where, hey, we can't take like 10 groups for next year already. But like 3 to 5 for a year ahead is not an issue really. I've pushed like if they're not like really serious about paying right away, but they know they want to come out for next year, I tell them to wait till January too. Just let some of our repeat clients get their choice of dates too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I got a question for both of you. How has y'all's two relationship evolved through, going from, best friends to business partners? Definitely want to hear both of y'all's perspective.
It's fun. That's how I'd put it. It's fun because, I mean, surely you guys know this. It's never always sunshine and rainbows in a business world, right? Life's never always going perfect. You think something's going great, and all of a sudden, bam, something happens, right? Wrench in the plans, client cancels or whatever. So it's become fun. It's fun for us because you get to develop that friendship into this business relationship. But like the other part is we still have that side of the friendship, like everybody in the group does, and like that's the best part. Obviously there's some stair stepping involved to go from two good friends, best friends that are starting a business with 2 other best friends to now we're all coworkers, but we're still friends. But the biggest thing that we learned is once you put your ego to the back seat and everyone can just have a serious conversation one-on-one or with the whole group and just understand that it's not about you. No one's putting you down or whatever. We move on a lot faster because like there's been a lot of times where they've sat down and been like, all right, Hunter, this is the problem. Or all right, Grant, this is the problem. And like first the egos didn't really take the back seat, which made the friendship a lot tougher. But once we were able to learn how to deal with our problems the best way possible maturely as adults, it's almost amplified the friendship as well.
I think to add on that, like at the beginning, there was maybe like too much level of friendship like when we first started, so that caused a lot of the butting heads sometimes like that first year, like whenever problems arose. Whereas like now I think we're a lot better at separating it, like whether it's like, hey, somebody messed something up, like it's not like something where take it personal as a friendship level. It's like business owner to business owner, like, hey, you messed up, you need to fix this type deal. I think that's just been the big difference from when we first started to where we're at now. And like Hunter said, just being able to like know, hey, this is hey, us hanging out as friends type deal. I think that really helps.
Right.
100%. No, I like that question, Logan. That was good. And I've honestly been lucky enough to see that evolve like in y'all just from when I first met y'all to now. It's just like completely different. The business acumen and the maturity has been insane. Like it's been astonishing to see how much y'all have grown and knowing like how much further y'all can continue to take this thing. Grant, I just want to know, like, how's the hunting been this year? Have you gotten to get out at all and hunt?
No,
Are you doing all work? What have you been doing?
I haven't hunted. I probably had the opportunity to go if I wanted. My thing is, I don't like this time of year. I just don't really care to.
Sure.
Not saying I'd wouldn't like to go on a dove hunt or take my girlfriend on a dove hunt or something, but like I don't know. Like I'm happy with just going like the time of year I'm gonna hunt and run my dog, and that's kind of what it is. I just enjoy that more so. But yeah, I mean, I've had opportunities to go, but I've kind of turned them down to get some work done so I can do less work in October and December and January. So
yeah, makes sense. You're not that mad at the dove, is what you're saying.
No, I'm not that mad at the dove, to say the least. But Justin, that man is. So we'll let him have his fun.
But the based on what we've heard, has been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, we're tearing them up. We're 2 client groups in, plus some fun hunts, and we've shot, I don't know, 800 birds, 900 birds or something. I think 800 birds. So
Whoa.
there's obviously there's fun hunts involved in there too and stuff like that. So it wasn't all client groups because that's obviously the possession limit and all that. There's a difference there. We had a lot of fun hunts mixed in, but
I mean, like they had one fun hunt like where I didn't go, and I don't think Hunter went. We were the only 2 people that didn't go, but like every single other person in our staff and like one other person went and shot like a 7 or 8 man limit of doves one afternoon. Like, so I mean, there's some stuff like that, but I mean, all in all, stuff's been pretty solid for us. Honestly, we had one teal group this year. I was a little nervous about the teal hunting beforehand, but honestly, we had 3 days of solid teal hunting, and groups are coming back, so I don't think there's anything to complain about.
no water this year.
That's what I was going to ask is water levels.
No water.
Mean, yeah.
In certain areas, there's some water, but you have to travel.
I would say more of the areas that normally would hold our teal were drier this year. That's kind of more the issue. Like the basin area is a lot drier than normal. But yeah.
Right. What'd y'all do for the dove this year? I think we talked a little bit about it last time, but what did y'all plant anything specific, or was it just cornfields, or what?
No,
we didn't do any planting. Go ahead, Grant.
I don't think we've never done any planting for anything. Obviously, some guys will start cutting cornfields for silage and stuff like that, or like wheat fields. So like those are the things we can get permission on and have lined up before season start that we know are going to come out at the perfect time. But I mean, otherwise, it's just a lot of pastures that we have access on that, farm ponds and big roost areas and, the marijuana patches and everything like that the doves like to eat. So it's a lot of that.
Wait, hold on.
Wait, pause.
That's new. Never heard of that.
Like the hemp weed that's like the ditch marijuana.
Ditchweed.
Yeah.
If you smoke the ditchweed, you're gonna have the worst headache of your entire life. Don't. It's not that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's not like actual marijuana, like in a field, like you think. Like
I thought they were like growing it for like
I did too
medicinal purposes or something over there.
No, it's just wild. It's like wild ditchweed. Like there's no like it's like I don't even. It's not the medicinal or the actual weed. Like it's like I don't even get it. It's like a wild strain of marijuana. It don't have any purpose other than being good seed for birds and some doves and stuff like that. It's useless. Trust me, it's useless.
So how'd you know?
I thought I was coming up with a new strategy for like hunting ducks. Be like, shit, they like weed. Might as well plant some.
So Hunter, how'd you know it'd give you a headache?
Huh?
How'd you know it'd give you a headache? And that's it.
So I actually heard the story from my dad. Obviously, I'm not that stupid, but my dad said him and his buddies when they were kids back in the 80s, they went and did it, and he said the most ear-splitting headache of your life.
Huh.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
So I guess I don't know.
I'll take that as it may. I'll take that at face value.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I guess I don't know. I've never actually done it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm assuming that's correct, though. I mean, I would like to think that there's no way, there's no way it's just pulling it out of a ditch is going to pull anything good for you. I can't imagine that. So.
100%.
Nothing good comes out of a ditch.
Well, Grant, we've talked. Obviously, we've had Hunter on the podcast several times. He's literally a co-host of this, and I think one of the bigger things that I enjoy is younger people, or even people that have been getting started, hearing the possibilities of where you started to where you are now, them hearing those stories. They've heard Hunter's version of the story of how y'all got here. But I think it'd be valuable for these other outfitters that are looking up to y'all to hear kind of your perspective of what that journey was like from, I remember the first year when I came up there, I think that was the first year y'all really taking people out, and it's trading hunts or buddy hunts. Kind of thing to where y'all are now and kind of your journey to getting there. And I do want to hear the actual trials that happened during that. Well, the challenges that happen, because a lot of people can step back and look at Whiskey Sloughs now and see it as oh man, these dudes are lucky that they have all this, but it took a lot of work and there's a lot of trials. Even getting the land that y'all got was a huge process. So I'd love to kind of hear your how you see it, how it came to fruition for y'all, and just telling that story.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of it that was able to help us and what, like, it sucked doing it for like the first couple of years. Like, and we still, I mean, we're still growing, 3, 4 years into business. There's still growing pains, but like, I mean, the biggest thing for us was, I think, just the sacrifice we had to make as like individuals sometimes to like, hey, this is what we need to do. Like, we need to put in all this extra work and extra hours to perfect these things or to acquire these things that we need or to book clients, whatever it was, but there was also a lot of trial error with whatever it may be, whether it be pricing or how we were going to run hunts, whether we were going to set up decoys for clients or whatever it might have been before they get to the field, all sorts of different things. I think, one of the biggest things though is just the sacrifice you have to make those first few years to like, man, something went wrong at 10, 11 at night. It's literally just us four. We don't have any employees. Like, well, and it still is that way. Like, well, somebody better go deal with it type deal and have it be ready so it's done for the morning or whatever. I mean, I think just the biggest thing is that. And then, like, I think a lot of people think about as like this business, like, is you can grow very quickly, but I don't think it's like, hey, you're going to grow super quickly and just line your pockets. Like, people don't realize that, I think. Like, the first 3 years of this business, we put every single tip back into the money or back into the company so we could grow the company. And like, if we wouldn't have done that, I don't think we'd be sitting here today with a new lodge or things like that. Like, I don't think people understand the sacrifices that we had to make, like financially, for a while to get to where we're at. And I'm not saying we're in a great spot, but like, we're comfortable. But there's a lot of
First,
growth.
big thing I think of, first year of the company, we all lived on $1,000 a month. That was it.
Yeah. That's a
That was
new
all we
thing for
had.
me to learn is that y'all put every tip back into the business. Like,
Yeah.
kudos to you
Yeah.
guys. That's fucking
We
awesome.
normally we really don't make that too public because obviously when a client gives a tip, he really wants it to see it go to the guides. But we tell them, we just say, hey, it goes back to our company to help grow so we can improve our business for when y'all come back next year.
I mean,
And that
that was
normally,
also really before we had a lot of people working for us like we do now.
yeah, that too. No, we put a lot of money back into the company that this company wouldn't have seen if we didn't do that. And honestly, that money we put back in is some of the money that helped us make it to this now.
So that's super impressive that you're able to do that. Logan, you got any questions to fire off?
I want to go back to the sales portion just because I think that a lot of people that have never done sales before feel like they're just, I'm not a salesman, right? I can't learn. It's a natural given, like God-given gift. And, there's no resources out there that can teach you, sales. But for you, going from zero sales experience to, building what you've built with y'all's sales team and the sales of the company in general is like, what did you go to, right? Like, were you just like looking up YouTube videos? Like, how did you do it?
I mean, a little bit of everything. A lot of it was just trial and error, to be honest, that first year of like, hey, this works, this doesn't work. I think a big thing is, nobody can sell your business better than yourself. Like, I think that helps a lot. I mean, we've watched some YouTube videos and things like that when I started out, or like look up stuff. Hell, at one point last year, I was in such a slump booking people. I was talking to a damn car salesman to figure out what the hell I could do better. Like,
I was literally about to jump to that story. You gotta stop. You gotta drag that story further
Stop
though.
and expand.
I was buying my truck, my personal truck from this dealership in Kansas City, and I wasn't gonna buy the extended warranty on it. And this dude straight up sales pitched me. He pissed me off a little bit. He was that good of a firm of a salesman, but he was good at it. He was like, why would you do this? I mean, you'd be kind of stupid not to do this. And it kind of pissed me off a little bit. But we ended up buying the warranty. I mean, he was a hell of a salesman. And me and Justin were down there when it happened. And I ended up being like, how much is an hour of your time worth? And he was like, I don't know, $70. And I was like, great. How about I pay you for 2 and you talk with Grant and Justin about your sales process and help them with their sales? And we did. They scheduled a time that next week with an appointment, and they talked to this accountant at the car dealership about sales.
Yeah,
and
like,
it helped.
Yeah, I shit you not. Like, I was like, at that point last year too, like, we were doing good. Like, up into that point, we hit a big slump or whatever for a month or whatever. And I was like, man, I don't know what the hell I can do better. I thought I had everything learned type deal of like, this is what I need to do. This will always work. This is the recipe. And I was like, shit, I still don't know it all. Like, it's getting better every year, but, I mean, stuff like that. Justin's a big fan of the old reading. I don't really do much of that, but, I let Justin read a sales book, and I just
The old
pick up some
reading.
tips from him. I just don't really
That's
do
a
that.
that's a clip, by the way. That's a
It
clip
is.
for the GuideTech
Yeah.
Instagram right there.
It
I don't do
is.
much
Yeah.
of that reading.
I mean, I just don't. I don't do any of it. I'll watch YouTube videos or whatever, let him send me stuff about stuff, but I mean, I just don't. I'm not going to sit down and read a book for 2 days of time. I could be doing better stuff than that. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm not that good of a role model for the younger generation, but yeah.
Hey, look, to your credit, everybody's got their own way of learning. What I found is that most guides are hands-on learners for obvious reasons, right? Like you can't read a book and learn to guide. That's just, I mean, you got to learn
Not
on
yet.
the job.
Yeah,
Not
it's
yet,
just
not
a lot
yet.
of trial and error.
Not until Garrett writes one.
One day. One day. It's not going to be on guiding, that's for sure. That's y'all. That's y'all.
Gonna
Dude,
be
so
a
what did,
co-author.
yeah, I was going to say y'all could come in and author that one.
There
But
you go.
on how to actually guide. Grant, did you learn anything from the car salesman, or was that like weird, or did it like
It was
align
definitely
with
weird.
what you're
Don't
doing?
get me wrong. It was odd. Like the dude was like in the middle of his vacation calling me for like 2 hours. Like he was at the lake type deal. Like it was definitely odd, but I definitely picked up some things. Like, I mean, there's certain things that don't apply to selling a hunt, but there was little deals about, how to kind of read people and some things like that. But yeah, I mean, there's always different people you can talk to, like salespeople. Like, I know I haven't like talked to any other salespeople, but like you sit there and go, like, say you're at, I don't know, wherever. I'm not car dealership, but like it kind of like that. You could be somewhere they're selling you something. You go, hey man, that guy, that was a pretty good point he brought up. I could use that in a different way to help sell some hunts. Like, I think just being able to sit there and be like, hey, that's a good option there, something to try. I think just, and then just trying everything, like trying all that stuff, like I think it certainly helps because like I'm kind of at the point now where I just know a system and I know what I'm doing. I know what I need to talk about and like how to talk to different people. And so that kind of helps a lot. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely, you can't try and fail too many times in sales, I don't think.
Would you say that like anyone, any outfitter could be a good salesman?
I'd say if they care about their own business or like care about seeing their business succeed, I feel like you could do that. Like you have to have some determination and in the words of Joseph Wallach, some grit. But like I don't think you could not do well if you're willing to put the time in and want to see your business succeed and make some money.
You can't be complacent.
Yeah, like you can't just be like, man, I'm going to call people for an hour today and I'm going to see some instant results. Like it takes time and effort. Like I think anybody could do it though with enough practice.
So
yeah,
what would you say to the outfitter that's down because they've called stuck because they've called 40 people this week and they just feel like this isn't for them, sales isn't for them? What would you tell them?
I mean, I would say you have two options. Well, maybe three if you can have somebody else sell your hunts like you guys do, and you guys have a sales team that does that. But the only thing I'll say about that is you can't be upset if it's not working because you hired somebody else to do something that like they don't know every single little detail about your business like you do. Like you can't they can't talk to somebody about this one lease you have. Like they don't know every little inner working of your business. But or you man up and do it yourself. Like I mean, I think those are pretty much the only two options. Like I don't get me wrong, like I had somebody call me that was like, I'm not seeing the results I want to see. And it's like him calling himself. And I was like, well, how long are you doing it? And you organized? Like, how many times are you calling these people before you give up on trying to call them? Like, and it was like, well, I guess I don't do that like you do, or I don't do that like you do, which I'm not saying my way is the right way, but like just the little things that people don't necessarily like think about. Like, man, I called all 40 of these numbers today. I'm not going to call them again tomorrow. Might as well. What are they going to do? Just, tell you to F off? Like, hey, I'm busy. Call me another time. Like, I think there's a lot of people too, like, that might be scared to like be told no and stuff like that. Like, I was that way when I was like first starting out doing this. I didn't like when somebody told me to go to hell and F off and stop calling them or whatever. Like, if I called somebody 2 or 3 times in a row, but you kind of get used to it. You're just like, on to the next one, I guess.
Yeah. That's so interesting that you would put it that way, because it really is only 2 options. Like, it's one of those, and look, I'm a notoriously not a salesperson, right? I'm great at selling myself, sell the company to investors, like that sort of thing, right? But when it comes to like the follow-up process, like I've always admitted not the best person at following up. One thing I did learn, and kind of like what inspired the sales process here at Mallard Bay, was I saw a stat that was basically 80% of sales happen after the 5th follow-up, and the next 80% don't happen until after the 12th follow-up, which is crazy to me. And those follow-ups can be, it's not just 12 calls. It can be 12, texts, or, text, voicemail, call, voicemail, text, whatever. Right. But it was enlightening for me to see that, like, it takes some grit. Right. And if you don't have that, then
I'd say that's definitely true. Like, even, and I think people get, like, if somebody like is doing what I'm doing for their own outfit or whatever, I think they get kind of turned off by somebody like saying no, or like being like, oh, it won't work out this year. I mean, you still stay in touch with that person and build a connection with that person. Like, they're going to more than likely come back and be like, next time they see something, like whether they see you post something on social media or see your website, they're going to be like, man, that guy treated me great. Like, him and I spoke for like an hour, like between 7 different phone calls. Like, that's the guy I want to book a hunt with, like, and go meet, I think that helps a lot. I mean, I can tell you for a fact, like, I got one guy that like I've talked to probably every 2 weeks for like the last 3 months, where it's like, he's just like, hey, call me in like another 2 weeks type deal. I'll keep trying to get a business trip together. Well, I can guarantee you he's probably not coming out this year, right? But he's probably going to come out in the future at some point in time. He said it on the phone before, like, why just waste that opportunity and not care to talk to somebody that said they can't make it out this year? Like, things like that, too.
Yeah, so it's like nurturing the leads that you have right now. I mean, that's what we found success in as well, is like just keeping that relationship with them and nurturing them. And I feel like guides can be so quick, and really anyone in sales can be so quick to kind of just brush people off, because it's not that instant gratification that they're looking for, as someone who's like immediately going to book and get them kind of like that yes that they're looking for. But I think the long term, like, you're not only building a client for next year, y'all have like such a good repeat clientele rate that it's like you're building lifetime value with this customer by bringing him in.
I think there's a lot of people that are in this industry that don't value not reputation, but relationship with their customers like enough as they should. Like, I don't think there's anything you should prioritize more than that. I mean, don't get me wrong, you want to have amazing hunting too, but like, you want to have an amazing relationship with your clientele. That's what's going to keep somebody coming back for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I just don't think people necessarily always see that. And I mean, that's something I do too, like whether it be on the phone, trying to, tell somebody they need to come hunt with us, but also like once they're here, like with supper being cooked, whatever it is, there's always somebody around the lodge talking to people, trying to build that relationship with them. So like when they leave here, they don't feel like they just went on a hunt. They feel like if they made some friends that they hunted with, that they're going to come back the next year because they like visiting with us and they enjoy hanging around us on top of the hunting. Like, I think that's something a lot of people don't see in the calling over the phone, is the relationship. Like, maybe not even asking the people a lot of questions of like, hey, where are you from? Like, what do you do? What's your life like? Like, I'll talk about anything with anybody, whatever it is.
Yeah. And I mean, Hunter's hit home on that like so much in previous podcasts. And I am a firm believer in that. And that's, essentially why Mallard Bay and GuideTech were created. It's about being able to be present and focus on your clients when they're there, right? And not have to worry about all of the little minute admin details behind a computer when your customers are right in front of your face, right? And
Yeah,
that's
for
kind
sure.
of,
Like you don't want to have to go take a 30-minute phone call with a different client about something when I can have Bennett give him a call and I can go spend that 30 minutes with the clients that I have in front of me right now, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some things that I got to do myself, but like if I can pass it off, like when I have people in the lodge or whatever, I'm going to try and
Yeah.
be as present as possible with those clients.
And on the note of the lodge, how's it going this year so far? Y'all have had a couple more groups since the last time we talked. How's it been?
Yeah, it's good. I think,
Love it.
I mean, there's a lot of big upgrades with more parking and just more space in general. Like, I think that's massive. I can like just having a back patio on our new lodge that people can go sit outside by, and
Yeah.
I mean that alone, I've got so many compliments on. Like that, I think there's just so much benefits to the new lodge and everything. But yeah,
The
it's been
space
good.
is massive. That's the best part, having all the space for everything.
when did you guys decide y'all were going to build this new lodge? Because like, until we talked about it, like the last couple of podcasts, Hunter, like I had no idea y'all had one in the works.
Mhm.
And like y'all just show up one day and you're like, I got a new lodge. What happened?
I mean,
Well,
we didn't,
we
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 didn't,
bought it.
but we
Oh,
bought
okay,
it.
right.
Like I would say, like we'd always like we were renting before, right? You know, we were like, well, we were always kind of like, man, if we can make something work to find a new lodge that can sleep more people to where we can expand our business, you know, whatever it is. Like we've been looking at stuff throughout the summer, I'd say, since like turkey. Well, I guess we closed on it before turkey season. We've probably been looking at stuff since like January, right, Hunter?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
looking
I
at
was
different.
there when y'all went and looked at it.
Yeah, we were looking at different places, and like it wasn't something we were like we're set on buying something. Like if we need to, we'll go another year renting a place and just save more money for another lodge. But like it was kind of something where it was like, well, I suppose we have the cash flow for it and we can probably make it work. Like don't get me wrong, it's going to be stressful. It's going to put a lot more stress on the season of trying to find new clients with expansion and everything like that. But it was like you got to take that risk right now and you get rewarded the next year a lot more so with you know, just everything having a bigger and better clientele base, you know, more space for people, just not having to rent another shop and everything like that. It was kind of a no-brainer, something we had to do.
So y'all's all your equipment is stored at the lodge. Y'all don't stay at the lodge, like stay the
No.
night. But y'all meet them right outside of the lodge with the gear, or do y'all head out in the morning and then they meet y'all at the place?
So our shop is like what almost a 2-acre lot. Like so there's the house and then there's the shop like on the other side of the
Oh, wow.
property. So we all of our guides load up everything in the morning, and same as always, we have all the decoys and blinds set before they even, you know, get to the spot. So we just, same as always, send them a pin, be like, hey, this is where you need to be, and this is what time you need to leave the lodge, like very promptly, and then drive them in and we start hunting type deal. So like they don't follow us from the lodge. Now, if we did that, it would be a lot easier having the shop there. We do it a lot more during dove and teal season where they just follow us from the shop, just because the dove hunting's super easy. It's not a big setup time, but it's definitely been nice having it there. Like the clients can see somebody out working at the shop at like 8 o'clock at night or whatever after supper, and they can come BS with us or whatever it may be. So
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Grant. Well, actually, Logan, do you have any questions? Then Hunter, I didn't know if you had any other questions. We're getting to that point of wrapping it up.
I think you guys covered all of it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Grant. Oh, definitely. Grant, I appreciate you coming on, man. Is there any words of advice? I guess the last, just one statement, word of advice to anyone who's kind of more in your role where you're in charge of the sales, they're just getting started, or maybe they're just kind of in a slump right now. Just one liner for them on how they can improve it.
stick with it. Don't give up. Just keep going. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Just keep your effort the same or double your effort if you're not giving that good of an effort. Self-evaluate yourself if you need to, but just keep that effort the same. You'll see the results eventually. Like they'll come through.
Definitely. Cool. Awesome.
Good.
Well, Grant.
Good.
Yeah, definitely. Grant, we appreciate you coming on, man. Car salesman of hunting trips out here, slinging hunting trips. We appreciate you coming on, man. And everyone, thank y'all so much for joining us on the GuideTech Podcast. Episode, I believe, number 23 this week. It's kind of crazy how much they've been flying by, but if you enjoyed it, share it, like, subscribe, all the things that you got to do on all the different platforms. Leave a review even. And then reach out to us if there's any topics that you want us to cover on this podcast. We're more than happy to cover it, or if we need to get an expert on that topic that we don't feel like we're that person, we'll get them on here. So yeah, just like, subscribe, share it, guys, and we'll see you again next week here at the GuideTech Podcast, episode 24. Talk to you later. Bye.